levels of brick. I think 8, 16, and I think there was one over 20. And I was quite good at that. And so the bricklayers quite liked me being their labourer.
So my man carried bricks for 10 hours a day. Welcome back, folks. Jake Zweig, United States Naval Academy grad, University of Michigan MBA, United States Navy SEAL, Division I college football coach, mentor to the finest we got today. We're hitting on a topic, man, John Truitt's going to talk about how he got into the military and some steps he took around construction that allowed him to be successful. Enjoy.
And essentially I had completely the wrong housemaster to solve it. And I think it came down that, so the lower master started giving me chores by doing his gardening in his house on a Sunday. And so I'd go and do his gardening, and actually what that was so I could have Sunday dinner with him. So sit down with his family and have Sunday dinner. So that's the sort of kindness they were showing around it, sort of managing it in a very, very interesting way.
Dig.
But essentially it was going to go to one end or not. And they looked at whether I could move to another boarding house or not, and whether that would change the things. People believed it did. But essentially it came down to, do we break tradition? This has never happened before. I fully appreciated the levels people had gone to. And, and when I talk about that sort of educational psychology report, that was when it was done. And I found it much more latterly. There was 2 of them and I found 1. And it's really quite interesting. And I believe that was an agreement between my dad and the school that let's have a look and let's see what we can do to kind of sort of address this. But in the end, I moved on from that school, went to another school on Music and Sports Awards, but given a place. I think it was less than a year there. I got removed 3 days after the rugby season was unbeaten and
Wow.
finished. So I do suspect it was done.
Yeah.
At least we finished the rugby season. But I absolutely love my sport. And, it used to make me laugh, actually, at Eton, because I said, you've given me all these sports awards. And Eton's got 2 incredibly quite contact-filled games, one called the Wall Game, one called the Field Game. And the Wall Game's played in King's College, and the Field Game's played by all the others, so all the boarding houses, and it's a mixture of football and rugby with some quirky rules in it. And, obviously I was kind of breaking my fingers all the time, which didn't sit well with keeping my piano scholarship. So I remember going to piano lessons and, musical geniuses, of which these teachers tend to be quite sort of emotionally charged. And so when I was turning up in these rooms and not able to play the piano, it becoming really, really exasperated with me. And I was kind of sort of perplexed by this. I was like, well, the house wants me to play all this sport. Mm-hmm. And you're asking me to practice for hours doing this, which I did. I fully realised right from the start. I looked at the other scholars, and I was never going to be absolutely brilliant. I was good. I wouldn't have got a scholarship before. But, when you look at sets of people and you see, okay, wow, you will be something that is truly special in the future. Whereas for me, I could have become good, and your training does a huge amount, but it only takes you so far.
Yeah.
And there's individual ability that is even more important. If you want to become part of that last 1%, it's something in there that will do it. I think there's that sort of mode of 10,000 hours of training or whatever. It's absolutely right. That final bit, there's something special inside certain people.
Sink in. He's talking about the top 1%, man. There's something special. There's something special based on your background, your history, and then there's just something special within you. Pro baseball players, pro football players, they got the genetics, they got the gift. Some of them have the drive, some of them don't. That's why they don't get there. I've seen it all, man. You got to have it. You got to have it to be it.
School, the next school after the rugby season, 3 days after it, I went for a period of no school. This was just before my exams. I was within a year of having to take my national exams called GCSEs. I spent some time in Spain living with a Navy family there. Then came back, went to my local state school. Well, I should have gone.
Holy shit,
Right
you
at
went
the
to all
beginning.
kinds of schools.
Yeah, so I had full range, and it was great. I mean, it was an amazing experience. But the irony is, when you go to sit your scholarship at Eton, they ask you what your second school is. And obviously, you say Eton College and another very quite sort of, I don't know what you'd term it, but they're special schools. This community college. I remember them looking at me and just being like, that's pretty extraordinary. I sort of ended up back at this school. I did my exams, passed them okay. Particularly strong on languages at that point. I went on to A levels, still playing lots and lots of sport.
So look, his life has already been filled with a lot of adversity. A lot of adversity, man. Understand that. Adversity makes the warrior.
But within those sixth form years where I was studying A levels, and I did 2 languages and sociology, I started working for a building company as a labourer. Sat my exams, but my attendance levels weren't very good, so my grades certainly didn't reflect what I could have done. But really, I didn't feel that those exams were really the key to the next step. And I became a building labourer working for a local company. Loved it. There's something called the hod. So the hod is where you carry the bricks, you stack them up in different levels of brick. I think 8, 16, and I think there was one over 20. And I was quite good at that. And so the bricklayers quite liked me being their labourer.
So my man carried bricks for 10 hours a day. When I say we got to do construction, there's no easy construction jobs out there, because construction men, they work hard and they work fast. If you don't, you won't make it as a construction man. So my man was slinging bricks. Obviously, he was slinging bricks really fast. You just heard him say 8, 16, or a bigger one of 20. So think about carrying 18, 16, 8, 24 bricks all day long, okay? I don't know how much a brick weighs, but I know it's not light, and I know if you're slinging them all day, them dudes are hustling, man, because them bricklayers are slamming them bricks down there, and they want to be always full up on bricks.
And I sort of enjoyed it, and I enjoyed that at that age. Then I got an offer to become an industrial roofer. So I became an industrial roofer, and I absolutely loved that. But it was in the time when you could do roofing by walking the open steels. Really interesting job. I was travelling a lot around the UK. And it was quite, as you can imagine, certain people who get involved in roofing, as anyone's guess who would be in our roofing gang at any one time, sometimes you didn't get paid and you have to sort of go and insist that you should be paid. But it was really interesting introduction into working life.
Hard, gritty jobs, roofing, bricklaying. Look, man, I say it all the time. There are huge benefits from 18 to 20 to go work construction, cement, roofing, bricklaying. Get you a hard job, man. Hard job. Out in the heat, the elements, the cold, working hard, fast. Learning how to ignore a wet pair of pants all day long because you forgot to bring your slicker bottoms.
Enjoyed it. But I started doing jobs in London, and I was getting up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was playing rugby. I used to represent certain people's gyms, or I used to box. So I was doing those things at night, and we were getting really quite small money, and we put on day work, so we couldn't really work hard. There was no incentive for price work for in the area. Plus, they were bringing in safety systems because there's quite a high rate of injuries and death in industrial roofing. So they're bringing in systems that weren't very well designed at all. So they're arrest systems that would suddenly, you're supposed to clip them onto yourself. You're carrying sharp sheeting, and it would suddenly stop you, and all of a sudden the shit. So all of that factored in just made me look elsewhere. I kind of, so that's what sort of led me through childhood, a very, very different range of schooling.
Yeah.
I don't think I fitted too well at school. I didn't fit, it's not like I was short of friends, but I didn't have, it's not like I was part of a scene at school at all. Just sort of bimbled about, got a lot of chores. I mean, I used to love my chores at Eton because they were building stages for theatre. So I just sort of spent most of my weekends. You don't get much time off Eton, right? You have to study hard to stay the grades. But all my passing time. But I actually quite enjoyed that. And I don't, like I say, I don't remember being unhappy as a child. And I remember their difficult times. I used to come back. My father was incredibly sort of disappointed and frustrated that these schools weren't working. My mum didn't want us to go to boarding school. That was a very tough time for them, but she was ultimately extremely supportive to my father and recognised that how much they were both giving up to offer us the opportunities that we could have been offered. Mm-hmm. And I did speak latterly with my father about it, actually not long before his death. And I think going into the military was a part of him. He could see that it sort of found some space. But at the time, he kept coming up with these brilliant plans to offer us opportunity, and they just weren't working out. That must have been incredibly frustrating. And you can see from the educational psychologist report at 14, the effort and energy that was put into trying to get this in some sort of shape where it would go. Would the outcomes have been any different if I'd stayed at those schools? I don't believe so. I don't think, as a person, they would have been. I don't know whether they would or not.
Yeah.
But that was, and again, every time I was at home, I used to have an absolutely brilliant time. And then the period of time when I was in my GCSEs and to my A-levels, I spent an amazing amount of time with my mum. And that was her back central. She's very, very happy to be able to see us, support us and do things with us, So, there was balances everywhere.
What got so you went from, I don't know how many schools, where you were very talented in music and sports, then you became a construction laborer, roofing. How the hell did the military get onto your radar?
So whilst I was roofing, and again, there are long days in London. I just we're on day work, we're refixing the same panels over and over, and they're condemning the steels below us, and that was nothing to do with this. My brother had become a commissioned officer, and he had joined the parachute regiment. He deployed to Kosovo, and I was watching in the background him doing all of this interesting stuff. The parachuting, everything else. So when I did look elsewhere from roofing, that became the obvious answer, and I had no aspirations of being a commissioned officer as such, but, going into the military and seeing that, that was interesting. It's like the parachuting is involved, you've gone to an interesting place. I hadn't travelled I used to travel with my mum a lot. My mum used to drive my dad's boat in a trailer all over so he could compete, sometimes with and sometimes to travel separately, and they used to sleep in tents. He's very famous actually for getting up in the night and he'd shave 2 millimetres off the keel because he believed he'd analysed the tide right. And actually he used to say, I'm never going to win every race, only just the occasional one, because I have a nemesis. And I remember him saying this, and he said, my nemesis is a sailor, I believe, called Rodney Patterson, who, I think it's Rodney Patterson, who's one of the world's most famous sailors, and he used to win everything. And I used to hear my dad say, it's just because he's got more ability. So my mum used to drive my dad's boats a lot, and we'd go with them if we possibly could. So we'd pop up in places like San Remo in I think it's Switzerland, San Remo, beautiful places. But we'd stay outside or whatever, and it was brilliant, really lots and lots of fun. And then I did some travelling with my mum to Spain. We went to Holland. My godfather was the person who designed the Flying Dutchman, the boat.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so it's called Flying Dutchman. And my godfather, Conrad Gulcher, used to be the designer of that boat. And I remember visiting him in Holland with my mum in a camper van. And he'd give us, every time I saw him, he'd give us one bag of red licorice bootlaces. So I did quite a lot of getting around and travelling with my mum. But when I saw my brother going off to these places I'd never heard of, I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. So I walked into the recruiting office and said, can I join the parachute regiment? And they said, no. You can join the engineers, but I don't want to join the engineers. Of course, that's when they get an incentive, set amount of money to fill gaps in other units for recruiting. So I sort of kept to my guns, and I said, I want to join the parachute regiment. He said, do you know what you're letting yourself in for? I said, yes, my brother's paratrooper. So, yeah, that's how I ended up in the military.
How old were you when you joined?
So 21.
21.
And actually, that's good. It's in many aspects, that's a bit later. So people going at 18, that period in roofing gangs, things like that, I think stood me in very, very good stead for going into the military. Just that slightly bit later, having worked in professional roles like building labourer, roofer, that sort of thing.
What year is this?
Basically,
So he's attributing his success in joining the parachute regiment. For y'all that don't know, the parachute regiment is much like our Rangers in the United States. So he attributes it to that 2-year period where he spent roofing. And let that thing sink in. Like, this is coming from a dude that's done a lot, man. He's done a lot. And you guys are in a rush to get there. And I always say, don't be in a rush to go get your head cut off, right? If you take 2 years, man, you're still only 20 years old and you get into U.S. Special Forces, man, you're still a baby. You're a baby in Special Forces, man. You got a huge career for you, a huge amount of time. There is no benefit of joining and being successful at 18. Remember what we talked about, man. 5 SEALs, roughly 10 Green Berets, talking about 15 kids a year make it from 18 on. Let that sink in. 15 kids. Okay. I sent a young man to 18 Delta. I sent a young man to 18 X-ray. He didn't make it the first time. They sent him away for a year and a half. He came back. He crushed it. 20 years old. Ended up graduating at 21. So just let that sink in a little bit, man. That's a great, great point. Like, you go work construction, man, it just makes you a different person. It allows you to mature a little bit. It allows you to get out of that, don't know really what life is about, what hard work is about. And I tell everybody, one of the biggest things you're going to deal with in construction is the elements. You got to learn how to work fast, work hard, soaking wet and miserable, man. Soaking wet and miserable. I don't give a fuck. None of them are going to make it.
None of them would make it.
How many? Let me ask you this. How old are you?
18.
Okay, do you know how many 18-year-olds make it a year in Green? Let's do it this way. Between Navy SEALs and Green Berets, do you know how many 18-year-olds make it a year?
No, sir.
Give me a guess.
Probably not a lot.
Number.
100.
10.
10.
10. 5 in the SEALs, 5 in the fucking Green Berets. So I don't give a fuck if they lower it to 15. That ain't gonna change. So
Lowered
do you
it
want
17.
Yeah. What do
They
you
lowered it last week. As long as you turn 18 before you ship, 17-year-olds are signing that shit now.
17. You gotta be 17.
Hold up.
Hold
up.
Oh shit, here we go. What do you got?
The only reason why they lowered it is because by the time you're done with the Q Corps, you're still going to be the age that is required to be a Green Beret, which at a minimum is going to be 20 years old, right?
Yeah.
So now,
Okay, hang on.
like,
Do you Go ahead.
But-
Go ahead. No, I'm saying, do you have any with you? Can I ask that question?
120-year-old,
One.
but the kid is a fucking monster.
Absolutely.
Meaning, at 18 years old, I mean, he joined the army into the regular army first. He didn't join as an 18 X-ray. And at 18 years old, 6 months into his fucking unit, he went to Ranger School, got his tab, all the way through Ranger tab, fucking Sapper tab, at 20 years old.
Yep.
And
Yep.
he's here now. So
Yoda,
that's,
I got a question for you. What do you think is better? I've got my own opinion, right? But what do you think is better? Somebody come in as an 11 X-ray to get that Army experience and understand the shit that you're going to do, or go straight to 18 X-ray? Basically, is SOPC enough?
depends. It truly depends. No, I would not recommend no fucking 18-year-old or 20-year-old to come straight to the 18 X-ray pipeline.
Yeah,
Because you will get eaten alive. Like
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
will. Because at the end of the day, you're here with fucking 27, 30-year-olds. And the average age, let's just say this, the average age around here is around 32.
Yep.
You're dealing with fucking 32-year-old grown-ass man that will fucking eat you alive.
Yep.
Right. That's just what it is. I would not recommend no 18-year-old to go to 18 X-ray pipeline. Right. Everybody wants that dream, but at the end of the day, it's a long road. So you just have to. Right. Some 18-year-old, I will tell you, hey, go fucking infantry, go to Ranger Bat. You're young. Fucking go kick indoors. Go do the Ranger Bat stuff, or go in regular infantry. Go fucking go get your Ranger tab. Go get that experience, and then go to selection. Everybody wants the now, but what they don't realize is that you can go to selection at any point in your fucking career. There's no wait time. Your command team has no say if you have to go to selection or not. They don't have to approve anything. They don't have to. You could literally drop a selection packet to go to selection at any point. You could literally get to your unit as a brand new fucking mechanic. I'm just using that as an example. And literally the next week, talk to the fucking sword recruiters, and they'll send you to selection in the next selection class. There's no, right? Everybody wants the quick, the now.
Yeah.
Well, I want the guaranteed. And I'm
Well,
like,
that's that generation, though. You know, it's the TikTok generation. 30-second video clips, move, right? But
that's
that's
that,
what
man.
I've always suggested too. Is I'm like, look, everybody's really
Hey,
hyper focused on
I tell you,
physical shit.
I tell you what,
And
man. This for you and Jake. The last
Yep.
18 X-ray that I put in the Army as a recruiter, he just made it. He just got selected last week. The last 18
nice.
X-ray. But guess what? 28-year-old grown ass man with
Yeah.
a master's degree. Jake will fucking probably kill him because he got a master's degree and enlisted. But hey, he
It's
made
all
it,
right.
right?
He made it. We don't
Hey,
kill the
he
ones
made
that make it. We kill the motherfuckers that are
But I
changing
tell you what.
tires in the motor pool.
But I tell you what, he is the type of dude that when he walked into my office, I literally told him, if you do anything else in the Army but 18 X-ray, you're fucking setting yourself short. The dude looked the part. Fitness was through the roof. Like, dude was an animal. And I was like, you need to do this. He's like, all right. And then the funny story, he told me about it, Jake, and he's like, oh, my brother is actually in the Navy now. He's fucking, didn't make it through buds. He just fucking, hey, chipping paint on a fucking boat. I'm like, hey, well, guess what? You ain't like your fucking brother. Good thing,
Yeah.
again, he just got selected last week. But he's been in the pipeline already a little bit over a year. Going through
Okay.
OSEC, going through all that shit.
Yep.
Right? He just went through selection, but I mean, he got picked up. But I wouldn't
Awesome.
recommend, but he's 28 years old. I wouldn't recommend no fucking 18-year-old. That's a huge gamble. I mean, at 18, it's not, and it's more of a maturity level. And you could tell that you could see even fucking 25-year-olds, 27-year-olds, 26-year-olds that are here. Yeah, some of them make it through, but you could tell the difference from a maturity level, right? From studying to make it through and all that stuff is just not there. They struggle because they don't have it.
And my young kid went, right, straight out of high school. They loved him, and they sent him to a conventional unit for about a year and a half, and then they put him back into the pipeline, and he did great, right? Like he had to grow up, man. He had to grow up a little bit. So listen, young buck, what's your name again?
Luke.
So you want to be an 18 X-ray? You want to be a Green Beret?
Yes, sir.
What'd you take out of that conversation we just had?
Chances aren't great as an 18-year-old. Need to look at another.
No. I ain't even gonna let you start with that. What'd you get out of that conversation that we just had?
Should do something else first.
Perfect. Okay. What are a couple options of doing something else first?
Regular infantry.
Okay.
Ranger battalion.
Okay.
Guess
wanna know
you said anything.
No, I'm gonna give you another option. I'm gonna give you the best option we have, really. The option 4 option and going to 82nd. In my opinion, like that's a guaranteed prep course to being great to going down that path. Okay, even more so than going the option 40, like going to Rangers, because you're going to get to airborne. You're going to go to the 82nd. The 82nd is going to get you ready to go to selection. Okay, if you go to the Ranger bat, I've got a young man in the Ranger bat that's selected. They threw his ass out the Ranger bat. Okay, so you get to the Ranger bat, you talk about you want to go to selection, they're going to throw you the fuck out. Okay, it's a little bit different over there, but just understand this, man, 18-year-olds don't make it. And there's no, like, if you make it at 23, you're still 10 years younger than your average Green Beret. So you're well ahead of the pipeline. You got a lot more opportunity. If you got a good living situation at home, I tell everybody, go work roofing. What state you live in?
Texas.
Okay, you live in Texas. Go get on a roofing crew. Go roof for a year. Okay.
I work construction.
Okay, work construction right now. Okay, so I work construction for a couple years, and then you go. Okay, construction will get you ready. Hey, I need to send a shout out to one of my users. Sent me an awesome video. Sean Ryan did an interview with the SAS dude, and in that, the SAS dude talked about working construction for 3 years. I can't find it. I don't know what I did with the link. Whoever sent it to me, send it to me again. Okay, you good, Luke?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, brother.
Hey, Jake, can I add something to that too?
Go ahead.
And I will say this, right? Like, yes, there is those exceptions. There is that one dude that makes it that's fucking, 20 years old. There is those exceptions. But the reality of it is that that's a gamble that isn't really worth taking, right? It's like, you just got to think about that. And, I'm just going to use numbers as an example. How many people are graduating through the Q course every year? You got what? Fucking anywhere 500 to 550, right? A year.
Yep.
How many people are in the Army? Let's just use Army numbers here. You got what? 1.2 million, counting National Guard, active duty reserve.
Yep.
So you got fucking 550 people out of 1.2 million that are in the Army graduating a year. What makes you think you're special? And that's for any fucking age.
Yep.
Right? It's like, that's what people don't get. It's just like,
And the
people wake up every fucking day.
SEALs is 200 to 250 out of 250,000 people,
Jake,
right? Same numbers.
Jake, you know my story.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
sit here and say it here because it is
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
is, but
Yeah, yeah.
you know my story. It's taken
Yep.
me fucking almost 15 years to get to where I'm at right now.
Yep.
And these motherfuckers are gonna do it in a week. It
Yep.
doesn't work like that. It don't work like that.
15 years of toil, being the best at your job, 15 years.
Yep.
And now you're finally there. And, even I'm going to say this, you had some fucking problems. And now you're doing good. So if I can, and we ain't even started to do the real work yet, because that's where it's really going to get fucking sideways.
Absolutely. But that's what that's what I try to get people to understand sometimes. Like, hey, when we tell you, like, hey, go do regular infantry, go test it out. And I tell people that is because, like, the biggest thing is you got to even test out if you even like the fucking Army. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you could be a Green Beret, or you could be Special Forces, you could be whatever, but you're still in the Army.
Yep.
You're still in the fucking Army, especially now, right?
Oh, yeah. Even more so now.
Exactly. Right? So, we're playing the Garrison games, the fresh haircut, the fresh this, the fresh that, right? It's like the nice boots. You have to play that game even as a Green Beret or even in any special operations.
Oh, shit. Hey, the Navy SEALs now, they having uniform inspections weekly.